I started creating this last night, after I'd ran out of milk for my tea. You see, I'd usually have plenty in the fridge, but as the days are growing colder, I can only hold 2 pints in my hands instead of 4, and my appetite, still believing it to be autumn, has yet to realign to the new, lower temperature season. So I embarked out on an Arctic voyage. Gloveless, I don't wear them. The round trip usually takes me between 8 or 9 minutes, with my time in the shop meticulously choreographed to 58 seconds. The Tesco Tango, I call it, which includes an al costado past the spiralised carrots in the clearance trough, a sentada through the Smart Price cider, and a final truco as the self-service machine asks for my 82 pence at a slightly jarring volume, almost taunting the lonely cashier in my periphery. The robot always thanks me as proof to the security guard, and I leave with index finger and thumb woven through milky strap, with 2 more capable soldiers on alert for when the cold will set into the first. During the foreseen changing of the frostbitten guard, around 0.25 kilometres into my return journey, my digits unfortunately broke rank, leaving me with milk all over the floor. I knelt down and reminded myself what my dad would tell me of fallen milk, and, composing myself, picked it up and continued home for a cup of tea and a long night of brooding. It was around 9 p.m. that night when I realised exactly what it was that I'd picked up. So, when pouring my 3rd serving of what now would be not so long life milk, I noticed a glint at the top, followed by a ting at the bottom. And, not wanting to waste a cup of tea that prices had already ballooned by 6 pence due to a particularly harsh October, I, like a blue whale consuming krill, sieved the tea into my mouth until the bare mug resembled that of a panhandler. My white magpie's gift lay at the bottom of the mug, like an unwanted pog in a box of 90s cereal. I picked out my prize, and after examination and then replication, its markings offered the internet a response, and to my surprise, I concluded it to be a Roman signet ring. My fingers deserve mention now. Big is generous. Big implies majesty, or at least affords them the potential of magnificence. Magnificent they are not, but short and fat they are. When I was young, my dad would tease me about them, and they're the reason why I can't wear gloves. And by that reasoning, it's my genetics that elevate my winter tea prices. So, thanks a lot, Dad. Lots of love, your stubby sausage-fingered boy. As the ring held roughly the same chance of fitting on my finger as it did on that of Edward Scissorhands, I did what any limb-loathing individual would do. I performed my jewellery fantasies online instead, virtually. Bashing the buttons of the keyboard and expecting gold or silver in return, I was instead presented with row upon row upon row of miscellaneous objects. Wellies, tents, tables, chairs, saws, smoke, explosions. The sorts of objects that you'd expect to find in the storage unit of Guy Fawkes' less devious but equally passionate brother. A lot of the images I found also portrayed a man, known to me now as Roman Signa. It seems my fingers had bludgeoned the wrong button, or, to step into the role of a Johnny Depp character, in an attempt to cut a lady's hair, like Edward Scissorhands, I have instead sliced her throat, like Sweeney Todd. Again, thanks, Dad. So I was Alice at this moment, and I leapt down the rabbit hole like a child releasing his grasp on his favourite rope swing, no longer really caring which way was up nor down. Further investigation of this man revealed he is ein Schweizer Bildhauer, Zeichner, Aktions-, Konzeptkünstler und Filmer. Lebt und arbeitet in St. Gallen. And that really got me thinking. I should definitely take up a second language. Although, they do say it's easier to learn when you're a child. So, thanks, Dad. What I learnt from Roman Signa through translation is that he creates experimental films, often spectacular, banal, and involving some sort of sculptural element. An example, 3 images side by side. The first, a tent sits in the middle of a field. The second, there's now an explosion. Smoke fills the air, and the tent now in pieces next to it. In the third, the tent now returns to the ground, tatters, scattered around a drum where we assume the explosion started. Before, during, after. 3 images. A spectacular event where he picks through evidence what we need to see. Milliseconds of documentation, changing moving image into 3 photographs, fracturing the formation and opening it up to fiction. But what else could possibly have happened in these milliseconds? Is it really relevant to witness the full conception? Perhaps Dick Dastardly and Muttley finally stopped the pigeon as it was taking much needed refuge in the tent. Probably not. So far down this rabbit hole now, surely nearing the 4,000 miles Alice speculated herself to be, that, in an attempt at reascension, like expecting a dusty old ladder to be capable of cleaning all 24,000 metres of the gherkin, I took hold of Signa's methodology as ammunition and shot them into my now overactive search bar. And I found this, a film titled Before, During, After, starring Finity Steeves as Jenny, and Jeremy Davidson as David. When the offstage drama knocks character actress Jenny Lonergan for a loop, she goes back over the key moments in her life to find clues in the broken pieces in order to move on and become the leading lady she meant to be. There is also an appearance by American-born actor and producer John Ellison Conley, star of My Sexiest Mistake, Dirty Sexy Money, and other risque shows, I'm sure. But the most interesting piece of information for me is that the character he plays in Before, During, After is called Clark. And having this fairly unique name, whenever I meet somebody new, like at a party or an AA meeting, they love to respond to the fact that my name's Clark. As if they are archaeologists uncovering a hieroglyph of a man in a brown tan cap and blue overalls. They gasp. Oh, Clark, with their volume now directly correlating to how many units of alcohol they have consumed before our meeting. Like the shoe shop, they ask, and we laugh. Oh, like Superman, they say, with their mouths slightly agape, curling upwards, almost expecting me to fall from my chair in laughter, which is never a good look at Alcoholics Anonymous. And we laugh again. And then they say, oh, I bet it's not the first time you've heard those. And they laugh whilst I grimace, mimicking the gesture I made when attempting to keep a gold ring from entering my mouth. Is this the fate my father bestowed on me? Talk so small that it cannot be described as a conversation. Or in the late winter of 1990, Did he just have an unhealthy love of either shoes or comic books? I have never seen one in his hand, but I have, however, seen him with 2 on his feet. And so, with the tea party being over, having cemented my place in a fictional space, Clark in Sunderland, not the Northern City, playing both Alice and her sister. With John Ellison Conley, the adaptive, playing both Tweedledee and Tweedledum. Roman Signer, the cook, throwing objects. Superman as the Cheshire Cat, with the ability to appear and disappear at will. The Caterpillar, now wearing all 50 pairs of my shoes. And this ring. The white rabbit that started the journey. Where the fuck's that ring gone?